I'm Ed.
And I'm Jim.
We're Cherry Jam Podcast.
And you're listening to Bears Beyond the Gate.
You're listening to Bears Beyond the Gate, a Bristol Bears podcast made by fans for fans. So, we are at the Bristol Beer Factory tap rooms tonight, as we always are, but it is only Miles and me here. Unfortunately, Lee has not been able to make it, and we were going to invite Lewis as a guest podder, but apparently he's disappeared and has not been seen since last night when we left him about 11 o'clock.
Well, a day out with us old folk, and it's wiped him out. I think for the next day, mate.
I think you're
no
right.
Stamina, maybe.
I think these young kids, they give it all the talk, and but they can't get out of bed in the morning.
Oh,
so it's just me and you, Miles, but we have got a little bit of help from a few sound bites that we took during the day, which we may have to use, some cheeky sound bites. But essentially, we're here to talk about what was, I think, was it a shellacking or was it a drubbing?
I would a demolition. Whatever word you can spin you put on it.
I mean, they scored 9 tries.
Yeah, I mean, it is a demolition of Bristol and their defence.
And we just about managed to score 4, so we can't argue with a cheeky bonus point. But at one point, I did think it could be an absolute shellacking. I think we were something like 24-0 down after 16 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely right.
And the ball was just flying everywhere, mainly between Gloucester's hands and their
Bristol's try line, wasn't it? Oh,
and our boys did look shell-shocked. They looked like what we felt like standing in the shed. Well, and these boys have got to remember what it's like for us. Yeah. It's all right for them. They're on the pitch. Yeah. They're not getting. They might have been getting a few little verbals from the Gloucester boys, but we were getting verbals left, right,
right.
centre.
Those Bristol players put their bodies on the line on that 4G pitch. Can I just say we put our lives on the line in the as Bristol away fans in the shed yesterday,
especially when you were singing "My garden shed's bigger than this." And then you started saying my allotment's bigger than this, Miles. I mean, I didn't think we were going to get out there alive. But
listen,
anyway,
mate, it's only a bit of banter. We'll chat about the banter and the atmosphere in a bit, though.
Yeah, but anyway, we do digress a little bit. So yes, we're here to talk about Bristol's 53-28 defeat at Kingsholm. We'd gone down there with our peckers up, having beaten Exeter Chiefs, although, of course, now I look back at that game and think, well, we conceded 6 tries against them. So that is 15 tries in the last 2 games. So I suppose the question we've got to ask ourselves, Miles, is, was this an attacking masterclass by Gloucester, or was it a defensive horror show from us, or realistically, as they laugh about on my Football Cliches pod, was it a bit of both?
I think it was a bit of both. I mean, you're absolutely right. So, 15. Well, let's not beat around the bush. Defensively, you cannot ship 15 tries over 2 games and expect to climb up the league and stay in the top 4. Let's be honest about that. However, the other side of the coin, Gloucester were just immense. Everything they did well. I think we knew it would be a tough gig going up to Kingsholm, didn't we? They showed real promise against Bath last week. They only just lost that one. Different players come in this week. They had the fast 4G pitch. They had the immense, it was a sellout crowd at the shed behind at Kingsholm, behind them, and everything they did well, and their attacking tries. I mean, hats off. Every single one of those tries was just sublime. I think
like last week, we decided to spend a little bit of time on one of the 2 things that happened in the game. I think we'll do that with this as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But just to kind of roll it back again, I mean, we had bigged this up as a big Bears Beyond the Gate day out.
Yeah.
We took the flag. If listeners are wondering, 1 or 2 people might have seen the flag. I did take one for the team, and coming back from the toilet in the first half, I then stood in front of the shed and held the flag up, and I got roundly booed.
Get it away!
Get out of the way! And Lewis took a photo of it, so we'll have to post photographic evidence.
Just proof that we did actually attempt to get the flag out.
So, Finn Russell might shush the shed, but Pete Brearley, he flags the shed like that. So anyway, we did that, but it was a textbook away day. I mean, we met at 2:00, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. 2 p.m. down
2
at Bristol
p.m.
Temple Meads.
Got on the train.
Got on the train with Lewis. He kindly bought us a fantastic little beer from the beer factory.
Yeah, we had our beer factory beers. It was Lewis, me, you, and Tony.
And Tony came along.
Tony was there, TC, and it was a textbook away game. We went straight from the station, no mucking around. We went straight to the Pelican. Although Lewis took us down some sort of dual carriageway with no pavement away from the ground. But anyway, we got to the Pelican, which is
just say that was a great pub,
great
wasn't it?
pub.
Great ale.
And, load of Gloucester fans, load of Bristol fans. We then bumped into our fellow podcasters from Gloucester, the Cherry Jam
of course we did.
podcast.
Yeah.
And then we also were met by our away day friends, who we met on the Quins away day at the end of the season, Alice, Mary and Heather. So we had a right old pre-match bit of bants, didn't we?
We did.
And then we wandered to the ground, got in there in plenty of time. We were able to have at least one more drink before the game started and then saw the game through. And then straight after the game, we went for a curry.
And then, literally squeezed ourselves into the garden shed. I mean, if people have not been up to Kingsholm, it's supporters-wise, it's got grit, it's passionate, isn't it? Beyond belief. You're all squeezed together like a tin of sardines. A few stewards making you toe the line, but loved it. But the two Bristol guys behind us, the Gloucester guys. So I think he said he's been season ticket for 40 plus years. Yeah. Only a couple of old boys, and they were so nice. They're appreciative of us being there. Applauding the odd try from Bristol that they saw. But yeah, it was just nice actually. Really, first time up there for me in the shed, and loved it. Great atmosphere. I've
got to say, the stewards are pretty high level there as well, because there are these little walkways, irregular walkways up into the terrace,
of course,
and you're not allowed technically to stand on those steps.
No.
But when it's a sellout, you sort of think, it'll be fine. But those stewards, they knew their stuff. They ran a very tight ship.
Yeah, Lewis's shoelace went into the no-go zone, and they were right on it,
He was almost going to get chucked out for his shoelace being on the step. So I'd like to just put, fair play to the stewarding. I thought the stewarding was very good, was very proactive.
Yeah,
just
it was
added.
good.
And it meant that, we were jam-packed in the shed, but we felt like we had our own little space in there as well.
Beer queues, reasonable.
Beer queues were fine. No problems with the beer. It is a proper rugby ground, and it's set up for it.
Absolutely.
But anyway, it was a text. And I say after the game, we went to the Taste of India. Now that was probably one of the worst. Apart from Bristol shipping 9 tries, it was the one time that you got a little bit tetchy, Miles, didn't you? Because we ordered poppadoms early. We got our poppadoms on, and then we probably waited about an hour for our main courses, and then yours was the only one that they got wrong.
It didn't turn up.
Didn't turn up. You were a bit like our defence. It didn't turn up at all. And in the end, something else turned up, which I ate it, and I gave you my chicken tikka, and you took it, but you gave that waiter, mate, short shrift. I've never seen. It was a side of you I've not seen before.
Maybe it's like sort of 6 pints down the line.
Yeah.
After watching that display, my back was up, and when you don't give a man the curry he orders in an hour, rightly so. Open to criticism. Plus, I might say, we were on a schedule to not miss the last train back to Bristol. We were all discussing maybe bunking up at Lewis's dad's house. We were getting a bit worried. So it was a great night, followed by all right curry. But the company and the atmosphere was what made it.
It was superb. But let's just go back to the Pelican. The Pelican is the pub we went to.
Yeah.
And pre-game, it's always great, isn't it? Because everybody's, anticipating what's going to go on. Everybody's got their theories. Everybody's there for a reason. So, as I said earlier, we bumped into the Cherry Jam boys who very kindly did our intro for us.
Oh, yeah.
And, fellow podcasters, the Gloucester fan podcast. And I actually asked one of them, Jim, to give us his thoughts before the game. And I always think it's quite interesting to listen to what people think before the games actually happen, and then compare that to what actually happened. So, what I reckon we should do...
Luckily, we didn't meet him after the game.
No, luckily we didn't. But I think what should we do is let's have a little listen to what Jim says, and then comment on it. And then we were very lucky also to have some very deep insight from the 3 girls as well. So we'll listen to that after that. Here we go.
Right, I'm with Jim from Cherry Jam. Jim, we're about an hour and a half from kick-off. What are your thoughts for today?
I think it's going to be a really exciting game. Bristol, they score a lot more than most teams, which is where they get their wins from. So I'm just really hoping that our defence is better than your attack, if I'm honest. We scored really well against Bath, who are clearly top of the tree at the moment. So I think our attack's pretty good. We just need to make sure our defence is solid, and then hopefully we can squeak a win. But it's going to be a high-scoring game, quite exciting. I can definitely see the lead changing hands quite a few times. So it's just a case of not giving away silly yellows and things like that, and we'll be all right.
Right then, Miles. Well, there's Jim. He's almost like Mystic Meg, isn't he? Mystic Jim.
Mystic Jim.
He got the result right. He was.
Yeah.
To be fair to him, he wasn't quite as confident as he might have been if he'd known what had happened.
Yeah, I get that. And he'd seen the Bath game, he'd seen the Bristol Exeter game the previous week, where we managed to get 8 tries, and you can probably understand a Gloucester fan's slight apprehension about our attacking skill and ability to, when we get the ball, just score. But in hindsight, that would have been great, wouldn't it?
I think the one thing that he got wrong, but it's not a criticism, is that he said the score would change hands a few times, and it never did. It didn't. We got close, didn't we? We got to, I think
with 29-21 was the closest we got,
and
before half time.
Just at that point, we say, right, boys, let's just really concentrate. Just before half time, really concentrate. 24-21, Big D, go into half time. We're close. We come out hard, and what do? Throw it around in the 22, turn over possession, and let them score.
Another try before half time.
We might talk about that in a minute. That was good from Jim, and he was very nice. Yeah. And I think apart from the fact the lead didn't change hands, he was right. High scoring.
It was.
Their defence. was better than ours,
absolutely.
And their attack was better than ours, and it's a pretty simple equation. Score more points, defend well, you win the game.
Yeah.
So, fair play, boys.
Like all the pundits say, in previous seasons, the best defence has won the league, and
always.
Last night they had both.
Always,
so absolutely,
as we know,
win a game.
A lovely house has to be built on strong foundations. It's true. So there was Jim. That was a great bit of punditry, but we also were drinking in the Pelican with our good friends Alice. Mary and Heather, who, as regular listeners will know, we met on the coach to Harlequins at the end of last season and persuaded them to buy season tickets and turn them into proper Bears fans. And we had also persuaded them to come to this game because we said it would be a cultural rugby experience for them. So
the rugby and Gloucester.
Fair to say, I think they found it quite an interesting day, and on the train back, I think they were slightly less impressed with the way the day had gone. But it was. I thought it would be nice to hear what they thought about before the game, because it's always good to get a wide range of perspectives. So let's have a listen to what the girls said.
Right, so I'm with very good friends of the pod, Alice, Mary and Heather. It's their first away day of the season. So we're at Gloucester. Alice, how are you feeling about the game today?
Do you know what, Pete? I'm so excited. This is our first away game since we went to Quins last year. And it's a really big game. Gloucester have been putting up a really, really big fight. We back the Bears all the way, but it's going to be an exciting match, I think. First time to Kingsholm. I've heard it's a great atmosphere. I can't wait.
And Mary, what about you?
I'm also very excited. I've not been the best Bears fan recently. I've actually missed a few games.
Shame on you.
I know, I've been away wasting that season ticket. But my parents went to the Bath-Gloucester game last week and they said that was a big fight and Gloucester put in a shift. So we just need to come back even harder. And as always, I believe in the boys and I'm excited to be here.
And Heather, it's good to see you sober.
Oh yeah, well, it's nice to be at an away day where I'm not hungover for once.
Well, that's a start. Any ideas on the game?
No ideas on the game, but I'm just here for the vibes, and I'm here to drink and be excited.
And that's what rugby's all about.
Oh, all about.
So there you go, Miles. I mean, this is what I love about rugby, modern rugby. It takes all sorts, doesn't it?
Well, absolutely. We've attracted some youth to the modern game of rugby. The club haven't sent our commission for adding 3 season tickets to
their roster.
To their roster this year. I know, I loved that. The fact, I thought that's a pretty good statistic. 2/3 of those girls came to watch the rugby.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
1/3 just came for the crack.
Came for the
Well,
vibes.
Why not? Why not? You know,
No.
loved it. I mean, you know, they've become like really good fans, you know, and we're building their knowledge slowly, aren't we? You know, they're proper followers, and you know, the commitment. They came up. We said, you know, one of the best away games is going up to Gloucester. It's easy to get to, as we told many fans, and they did it. And I think fair play. They really enjoyed the day.
I do, yeah. It does make me laugh. Although I was a bit concerned to hear that Mary's mum and dad had gone to watch Bath,
Yeah, the previous
Gloucester,
week, hadn't they?
and you know, I think they're fair weather Bath fans. They drive up from somewhere like Devon
Something
or
like
something.
that.
I don't know. So
Probably got a barber jacket packed around the car or something.
But no,
to that effect.
I'm pretty sure that Mary is she's Bristol Bears through and through. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was great. It was great, and those girls, yeah, they, you know, it takes all sorts. I mean, it's, you know, you've got these kind of the boys in the shed who've been there for 40 years. You've got people like us who've been, you know, been in Bristol and then, you know, got season cards when they came to Ashton Gate. We've got the children of the rebrand, which are the sort of younger fans, and you know, there's got to be a space for everybody, hasn't there?
Absolutely.
Otherwise,
Young
the game will
and
die.
old,
Otherwise, the game will die. So yeah, I mean, it was again, you know, we were all sat in the Pelican, and I think we'd even said this last week on the pod, is that, you know, it's going to be a tough game.
Yeah.
It's going to be a full house. The shed's going to be in full voice. What our boys have got to do, is one thing they've got to do is get a good start. That's all we ask for, isn't it?
Yeah, always.
All we ask for. And to be honest, for 2 minutes, we actually played quite well.
Yeah,
we went backwards and forwards. Yancey van Roegberg grubbered one through, and that was right at the other end. And we're thinking, we're a metre from their line. We're going to score here. They're going to give away a penalty because they're clearly going to be killing the ball.
Yeah,
and what do we find out is that no, it's Bernard who gives away the penalty. Which to me, I looked at it today, and he got done by Christoph Ridley for hands on the floor, trying to sort of jackal.
Yeah.
And you've got to say that's tough. You know, that you gave him no leeway whatsoever at all. And this is a guy who's just created this opportunity, has run 50 yards. And I do think sometimes I've got nothing against the ref. I thought he was all right, Ridley. But I think sometimes maybe they're they're looking for stuff very, very quickly just to get the whistle warmed up. And if that had happened maybe 10 minutes later, I reckon he might have given, because we do see it all the time. We do see jacklers who, in hindsight, their hands go on the floor briefly. Come on. It was just a bit unlucky, really, rather than anything.
I think so. And it's tough, you know, not that Pete and I, we haven't played sort of rugby since our school days, have we? But, you know, the jackling sort of position, supporting your body weight, is flipping tough, isn't it? And if you're attacking, and Jans, you know, Bernard is flipping quick, you know, you could put a couple of fingers, and to get pinged for that, the rules are rules. They're not getting away, getting away from that.
It's just a shame. And then, of course, from that,
shame.
they got a penalty, got a line out, and then they scored their first try. And I think there was a missed tackle somewhere in midfield. And then Santi Carreras, who is a class player, he took shoulder done, and then he just chipped one over. Perfect weight, right in front of us. And I could see as soon as that chip went, I knew. I mean, Lena's quick, but Lena had to turn, and he had Wadey with his Go Faster tights on. And
a little bit too fast, wasn't
too
it?
much. And I thought, darn. But, you know, even then I thought, don't worry about that.
4 minutes.
We'll be back in. And then, unfortunately, we then misplace a pass. Then they score from that. And then I think there's another one.
Hathaway at 7. Yeah,
that was Hathaway kicked it on. It was unfortunate.
There was a bit of miscommunication in the midfield, and Byrne threw it to no one. You know,
and then Hathaway managed to get his boot on it. Then Santi Carreras managed to sort of offload back to Hathaway,
and over.
Nice little step in. It was a
lovely try.
And then the third try was just a standard off the line out, off the top of the line out, missed tackle, popped to Harris. I think Atkinson barreled through.
It was someone through, a slight dummy line, and then there was, I think that
two of our players got in each other's way.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And sometimes, you say, should this happen? It's like, I don't know. I mean, it's like last week we said that when Yancey van Rensburg, Bernard scored that try straight from the kickoff, it was brilliant, but that shouldn't really happen in professional sport. And actually, should somebody just a 12 just get through that easily? I don't know. I think there was mitigating
circumstances. We're not there. One-on-one player. Someone's running at you at pace.
I know. And of course,
you've got to drop and get the tackle, but
And also, their probably
were very
heads,
quick.
their heads were a bit scrambled. They're suddenly 14-0 down, and they weren't expecting to be.
Yeah,
but
I get
then,
that, I get that.
after that, I mean, I had to go and watch it again on telly this morning because the fourth try that Gloucester scored, which again they managed to manufacture a 2-on-1 on the ring, and that is a bit of a worry to me because that to me they went backwards, and then they managed to manufacture it. And we weren't, our wide defence wasn't quite up to it. I think they had a 2-on-1, and then it was Thomas Williams just gave the most unbelievable basketball style no look. It was almost like he was going for a 3-pointer into the ring, looking the other way, and Atkinson snaffled it up.
I thought he would have had the gas to get that himself. But
well, I know, because I think he got
so?
absolutely mullered by Steve Miller too. So
okay.
I mean, this is why he's an international player.
Yeah, of course.
He absolutely knew that timing is everything, and he didn't take the contact. He got rid of it. And I've got to say, at the time, I remember thinking, we were on the shed. It was about in line with us, and we were convinced it had gone forward because it just and it because it looked like a basketball shot. It looked like he was going for the hoops.
On the replay,
but actually, on the replay, it was
wasn't
absolutely
it? And it was
genius.
to Seb Atkinson, and that, I mean, there you go. So they got
Just
their...
doff my hat to that. And then, would you say 24-0 down?
Well, they got the bonus point in 17 minutes. I mean, it's not quite as quick as our Bristol record.
And apparently it was only the third quickest this season.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they said on comms.
Really?
I can't remember. But, I mean, here's the question. At that point, I actually did fear for our... I feared for us.
I feared for our lives in the shed.
Yeah.
I feared for the...
I mean, I only feared for our lives in the sense that, we were going to kind of... Our brains would have exploded by all the chanting that was going on. I mean, if we had gone 24-0 up, I would have feared for my lives.
It would have been lively, wouldn't
But I don't know. I mean, I know we came back into it towards the end of the first half, but I now look back and think I think we were shot then.
I
think I just think we just knew Gloucester on a hot one.
Yeah, confidence had dropped. They were making fewer mistakes. That defensively they were pretty good in sort of Bristol's limited attack that they were in the first 70 minutes. Chaps behind us say, this is Bristol. It can all change, and I know that. And we've been there, but I think my head dropped a little bit when I thought they are looking such a connected attacking team on Friday night. Every ball is going to hand, and I thought we'd struggle to sort of somehow overturn that.
They seem to be. It seemed to be that sort of game where
they peckers up, didn't they?
And they were capitalising on our mistakes, and they were getting a little bit of the rub of the green. You grubber it through, it's not always going to bounce up, and we did a couple, and it didn't.
Everything did.
But I just think that we made too many mistakes in that first 20 minutes, and then it got the crowd baying and the whole atmosphere, and it to me it felt like the game was gone. But we did brilliantly, as we always do. We did stage a sort of mini comeback, and of course it was Harry Randall who started it, sniping, offloading to Fitzharding, who was on his shoulder. Then we had yet another Max Laheath power try. And then Jimmy Williams and scored. And actually, we got back to 4 tries to 3, hadn't we? And
absolutely.
And I thought, this is where you just got to concentrate now. We've got 3 minutes left to the half time, and of course we all know, and those that don't know, is that from the restart, I think it was from our try, from Williams' try, you're like, okay, we've got the win behind us.
Yes.
We've just got within 8 points.
Yeah.
There's 3 minutes to go. We've got one of the longest torpedo kickers known to man. Let's run it out of our 22. And then we ended up, and I remember my head in my hands going, I know where this is going. And it ended up with, I think it got a pass onto someone's head. And then it went forward. No, it wasn't. I take it back. What happened was we kind of went backwards and forwards, not going anywhere. And then there was a bit of a loose ruck, and Harry got rushed at the ruck, whipped it out. It went through Max Laheath's legs, then hit Paddy Pearce, and then Max Laheath. And it's not his fault. He instinctively then picked the ball up and he was offside. Yeah. So, I mean, a scrum, we might have got away with it because there's always a chance of winning a scrum penalty. Anyway, 2 line-outs down, and then, would you believe it? It goes wide, right in front of where we are.
Bloody Wadey.
Christian Wade, just to see him score again. A second try.
I know, on 40,
it was a good finish.
He was brilliant. And on 41 minutes, and there we go. So we go into half-time. another try down. What was it, 34-21? And I think we were thinking, right, that is. It's
there was still a slither. There's still
absolutely.
You think, okay,
a stern talking to.
I mean, they were definitely going to talk about things at half time. Things like tackling would be a good thing that they were going to talk about, and maybe kind of using the wind, but that was too late because it had gone. But and of course, I think our only hope was us to come out like we did against Exeter last week, when we scored 2 tries,
and that was
and of course we did. There were 2 quick tries, but unfortunately they were for the other team.
I forgot they were from Gloucester, weren't they?
And yeah, fair play again to them.
That quick, because there was another great Seb Atkinson try, about 42 minutes, and then annoyingly, bloody Wade again.
It was a
Seb
good
Atkinson's hat trick, wasn't it?
Seb Atkinson got a hat trick, and that was almost too easy. That try, they just a couple of phases, and they just span it to him, and he just ran through. I just thought that's when you again should have been like 100% focusing. Like we're going to be absolutely all in line. We're going to make the hard tag. We're going to win the shoulder, and it was just a bit easy. And then Wade, to be fair to Wade, I think his hat trick try was a good try. It was exactly like the one he scored at Ashton Gate, where he grubbered it through. Yeah. I mean, this time we didn't have Max Mayling's kind of running sideways and missing it. It was a perfect. I mean, I think it was his best try.
Yeah,
actually.
I think so. I mean, that's hard to defend. You know, you have fast people like I can't remember who was defending. Probably.
I think it was Rich Lane,
who've got gas. You've got to turn and run in the opposite direction. Wadey, a perfectly placed little chip down, and it stayed in. He did a low kick. The ball just landed brilliantly. And hats off to him. He had the gas, and he's.
And actually, I think after 50 minutes, I mean, we did finally score our 1 bonus point. That was really all we had to look forward to.
So. What was it? Jimmy Williams.
Jimmy Williams scored again.
We got our 1 bonus point. I think at that point, I think we thought, let's, unfortunately, trip back down the M5.
I was already thinking about my curry.
Me too.
I was already getting the menu up because I was already starting to plan it. In fact, if we'd had done that and rung the menu through, we wouldn't have waited an hour, would we? For the we could have rang the menu through, the order through on about 75 minutes.
Maybe I made a problem, mate. The Duchess, my wife Wendy, was sat over in the sort of plus seats on the stand, big screen opposite her, and she said, as opposed to sort of all the player going there, she said there's too much flipping advertising.
Yeah.
And she said Taste of India was on there quite a bit. If they concentrated more on preparing curries
than advertising,
we might, we'd go back there again.
Or if you're going to advertise, you've got to have the capacity to deal with the extra demand.
Game night, you're going to be full.
I mean, they should have.
You plan, you've got to deliver.
Well, they should have had a spotter at the game. Because the Taste of India was on the main screen. So as that Gloucester score is racking up, they needed someone in the ground to ring through and say, we're going to have loads more. We need to buy some more chicken in now. You need to get the tandoor on now.
Extra kingfisher in.
Because there are going to be double the amount of people. Because what do people want to do to celebrate either a win or a loss? They want to go for a curry, and our curry house is under the scoreboard. Right, get going. And of course,
they failed to deliver.
I think their marketing manager and the kind of product manager, they just didn't talk.
Hilariously, obviously I wasn't happy at the end about them not turning up with my curry. Got to the train station, and my wife had left her gloves and hat, so I had to go back to the Taste of India. And retrieve it, and you're thinking it was like going back to the sort of Lion's Den again.
Yeah,
luckily
you'd already been blackballed.
I would have been blackballed. I thought they would have flushed her hat down the toilet. But I mean,
some people might argue, Miles, that you should have just told Wendy to go back and get her gloves and her hat.
We were at risk of missing the last train back to Bristol. I sprinted back. My legs are hurting today, mate.
I know.
And I'm trying to recall why my legs are hurting.
And we wouldn't trust her geography either.
No, not really. And those sort of twitch muscles, they don't get much used in 50-plus-year-olds, do they, mate?
No. Well, anyway, that was it. Game was done. Curry was ordered.
Game was done. 9 tries to our 4, and another little annoying statistic is that it's been 8 years since Gloucester have done the double on us.
Yeah. Well, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen once in a while. But we've had some great seasons of renewing our rivalry with Gloucester, beating them pretty convincingly, and this year was a very close win at Ashton Gate, but hats off to those Gloucester fans. I mean, that was just dismantled our defence, and played extremely well.
Well, I think to sign this off, I think what we should do is let's have a listen to what Pat said after the game. I've snipped it out to listen to it because I thought it was I always find it quite interesting to listen to the post-match, because I know, especially when we lose heavily, because we've said this over the years, it's actually quite a difficult job, to be fair, to kind of to get the right balance. So let's see what Pat said, and then see if there's anything that comes from that.
Pat, I know this will come as no consolation, but so many smiles on the faces as we came down from the commentary box just now. It's five-star entertainment what you're all producing at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, this time last week, it was all the Bristol fans and young kids enjoying themselves. So, that is a good sign for us and for the game of rugby. And well done, Gloucester. George and his boys were superb today. They got out to a flyer. We pulled them back and then conceded just before halftime. And then I thought when we were going to score just after halftime, and they did. So the game pulled away, and they had the tails up, and it was difficult to get back in. We'll live to fight another day, and we'll take a lot out of that. As we say, it's ultimately there was 5 points up. They took 5, we took 1, and we'll dust ourselves off and come back when we play Leicester in a few weeks back at home.
What about your defensive work today?
Yeah, we're not proud of that, and the boys aren't proud of that. We know that. We did a bit of work, and I think the beauty about having systems in all parts of our games is, there's clarity on who's not quite in the right place, who's not talking, and so forth. So we spoke at half time. We knew what was coming, and we trained it, but we didn't quite do what we trained as well. So, but the boys are the first to put their hands up. So I think that's the big thing. When you don't have any answers, there's a problem. But certainly when you have a system, you can look at all the bits and pieces: attack, defence, breakdown, set piece, and and ultimately you just want everyone to do their jobs and do it well. And sometimes you don't get it right.
So there you go. I thought that was quite an interesting post-match. I think if you listened to that not knowing the score, I don't think you would have thought it'd been quite as big a shellacking as we got. But a couple of things I picked out from that was he likes to use the phrase, they got their tails up. We said peckers tails. Interesting. Okay. So Anna no, I won't even use that word. And also I like the fact that he definitely stopped himself saying learnings. He said, we're going to take a lot out of that. And I'm convinced that Pat knows that he cannot do that anymore. So he took a lot out of that. He kind of admitted that they played well and we played pretty badly.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you're right. I mean, he was extremely upbeat, wasn't he?
It was quite upbeat. We are still second in the Prem, to be fair.
I was listening to this on the train home yesterday evening, and I couldn't believe how cheery he sounded for really, 9 tries scored against us. But, he did basically, fair play, you'd commended George Skivington and his attacking and defence. And there was, like we said a bit earlier, it was relentless their attack and some sublime handling. Yeah, the question is, if the system perhaps wasn't working in the first half, they had a bit of talking in the second half, and the system still didn't work.
There was a big system malfunction.
So something, the whole system seemed to break down for potentially the whole 80 minutes of the game, and maybe against a team like that, maybe a little bit of a reboot would have been required at half-time. Just unfortunately didn't seem to happen yesterday, did it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the interviewer did reference early on that it was a 5-star game of rugby.
Yeah, it was.
But I do think that Pat is a little bit of a system addict.
Yeah, maybe.
Now, there's a reference to a few people out there.
Hey, I've just got that.
Just got it. And I find this quite interesting, this system thing, because as Pat pointed out, he said if you don't know what the problem is, then you can't solve it. Yeah. So he's saying, look, we can easily solve these problems because we've got the systems and we'll just work out who wasn't doing it. But my question is that if it's that simple, is the system too complicated?
Why haven't we got it?
And I suppose Pat would then rebut to me saying, yes, but you can't guarantee to know what the opposition are going to do, and therefore you have to kind of work with it's a flexi system.
I love that
flexi
system.
And I think I'm starting to. I mean, this system, I imagine it has been written down somewhere in the HPC, and I'm quite intrigued to know what the system is, because as I say, I understand that it will be flexi because the system has to adapt to circumstances. But it is quite interesting there are times where I watch us and think, when someone's standing there, are they thinking about this? Is there like a chessboard in their mind where they're thinking, I should be stood here, or actually I should be a yard the other way, or am I in the wrong place? I don't know. I'm fascinated by this, actually.
It's fascinating. However, and fair play, that system appears to work really, really well in attack.
Yes.
However, where it didn't appear to work so well yesterday was when the defence, and Gloucester really are changing up their attack, because otherwise you become too predictable. Different running lines, different switching of players and decoy runners,
and they did a lot of that.
And they did a lot of decoy running, and it's never going to be the same again and again.
It's almost like they need to rewrite some sort of algorithm into the system that factors in.
Yeah,
they must have some sort of AI training bots now that can work out these and learns these running lines, so that it learns them, so that then when it produces the new system. So Jimmy Williams and Bernard, in centre, which is a critical place. They've been trained to know that when this happens. No, I'm fascinated by this, and maybe the system will say, actually, when you see someone running towards you with a ball, tackle them.
Just tackle.
That's let's start. Let's go back to basics. But we do jest, and we'll see. My only problem I have with this is that we are still second. We are still 7 points above fifth.
Yeah.
But can we really think in our heart of hearts that we are the sort of team that is going to win the Premiership by conceding 15 tries in 2 games? I don't know. But then sometimes, like last week, we defended really well in the second half.
Yeah, but that was with 14 men.
Is it? Yeah, I know.
It's slightly illogical, isn't it, this week?
But then I think back to times where we've defended like Trojans at Exeter away back in the day, and we've always been an attacking side.
Yeah.
Apart from the little hiatus in the middle of the 2 years. But
we've had immense defensive spells in a game, haven't we, when it really mattered? And I don't know whether our peckers were down or
our tails were up.
Our tails were down.
Hang on, our peckers were down and their tails were up.
Absolutely, and at that point,
which is probably about right, actually.
There is, and your bodies are on the line, and there is only a certain amount more defence you can physically.
And they are
give.
just humans, aren't they? they're not robots.
No, absolutely.
But I don't know. I
take the hats off to them.
I don't know whether I don't know whether a 3-week break is a good or a bad thing, because I would have thought after a defeat like that, a lot of the players would say they want to get back on that horse. They want to get back on the horse straight away. They want to get the spurs on. They want to get those massive, like big leather sort of trouser things on. Get the Stetson on. And start getting back on that horse and round up a few Indians.
Yeah, I mean, who knows where we go? We've got a 3-week gap now, haven't we, before the next home game against Tigers.
Who did lose today.
Yeah,
so they're not going to be happy either.
No, not really, on Easter Sunday. But are they, correct me, are they still in Europe, whereas we're not?
Yes, we're about the only one that isn't in Europe.
Absolutely. So they've still got some game time. Yeah. As we know, game fitness is key, isn't it?
I know.
Last week, there was a fantastic amount of tries scored, 8 tries and 4 tries this week, but we've now got 3 weeks off. Yes, we're going to have some injury cover back, which is going to be great. I
think we struggled with Josh Caulfield not playing yesterday. Was a bit of a nothing against Paddy Pearce, but you're throwing that boy in at Gloucester away for his first Premiership start, and he acquitted himself well.
Absolutely.
Josh Caulfield, is a bit more of an operator.
You're absolutely right. It's when you needed the experience yesterday. It really does count, doesn't it, when you're facing teams like that? No disrespect to Exeter at all. It was unfortunate that Joe Owen, he was had ice on his shoulders.
And I think we missed Santi Rondona as well. I think it's
he's been handed a
two-match ban
with tackle school as
tackle
mitigation.
school. And I wonder where this tackle school is. Is it a kind of Hogwarts sort of space where you've got this whole load of tackle bags all lined up, and then everyone's on a line, and they go 3, 2, 1, and they all have to tackle.
I have to admit, I've never been on a speed awareness course in my life. So, do you think there's any correlation to something along the format?
Yeah.
You can't turn your camera off.
No.
Because the police know that you're not actually bothering. Really.
No.
You're doing something else. So.
Anyway, I think we're digressing, Miles. I think that. I mean, we mentioned a few. I don't think we mentioned a few people. I think there's one thing I wanted to finish off with, and you may have something as well. But there was a great bit in the first half where we got a penalty right in front of their posts, and I think it was just before Max Laheath scored. But Lewis Ludlow was kind of lying on the ground on top of the ball, and Harry Randall got really angry, and he pulled Lewis Ludlow his back and kind of did some sort of judo flip, and Ludlow out the way and to be fair to Ludlow, he took it quite well, and then for once, and this is a bugbear of mine, actually, this is a goat that I should have said a long time ago. It really annoys me when there's a conversation between the players and the ref on ref cam, and it's kind of interesting. The commentators just keep talking over the top of it. Boys, they need to stop that. But anyway, for this particular occasion, they didn't. And you could hear Harry Randall going, he knew exactly what he was doing. And Christoph Ridley is trying to ignore him. And Harry's like, he knew what he was doing. And he goes, you got the penalty anyway, Harry. And then Lewis Ludlow came over and he went and he almost like apologised and said, yeah, well, you know what it was. And I love that. But we should listen. That's my new goat. It's less commentating over ref cam.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think there was a little bit of aggro in the forwards end, wasn't there? Rightly so. I'm
sure Dunny was involved in that.
Probably.
Went in a little bit late on Freddie Thomas, and then couldn't let it lie.
He kept his scum cap on for the whole game.
He did, didn't he? I think. Yeah, I think actually that was the one thing that I was disappointed with Dunny. I think he could have instigated a scrap on about 55 minutes because we needed something else to cheer. We didn't have anything to cheer in the shed. But anyway, next time.
Very little.
So that was all. That was the only thing I wanted to mention. The Harry Randall judo throw.
Yeah, he was great. I thought that was absolutely live wire.
I think one of his. Thomas Williams played unbelievably well.
He's international quality, isn't he? And you're going up against him. But he acquitted himself brilliantly, Harry Randall. I thought it was nice to see AJ McGinty back.
Great to see him back. Couple of double pumps, I noticed.
Double pumps, and he was. What we're chatting about before the pod. There's another leader back on the pitch. Which I thought he was, no disrespect. He wasn't being respectful for Christoph Ridley, but you could hear him saying like, offside, ref, offside. And you put that little query in their mind, and one or two you'll be given. So I think, that was good to have him back.
And I think, did Christoph say, I'm not sure if this is true, but he would say, what would refs say to AJ? Would they say, Alan, I'm reffing the game? Or would they say AJ? Because that doesn't sound right, really, as a ref to call him AJ, would it? I reckon
Adge.
I think.
Mr. McGinty.
I think we need AJ to come. Like James Dunn did reply to us last week about the questions we posed. So here's a question for AJ, or to Adge, as we like to call him. What do refs call you? Do they call you AJ? Do they call you Adge? Do they call you Alan? Let us know.
There we are.
Right, on that note, Miles, I think we've done our best.
Absolutely.
We've done our best.
Yeah. So obviously we've just had highlighted 3-week break.
Yeah.
Back on Easter Sunday down Ashton Gate for that. Is it Family Day? There's some sort of for sales point around it. It's Easter. The worry is that a lot of people are away. The crowd size may not, understandably, may not be that great, but it'd be just great to get back to Ashton Gate. We've got a 2-block game now, haven't we?
We have.
And then the odd part of the season, haven't we? We've got the Leicester at home, which, luckily they lost today. I think, did they get 1 point maybe for being within 7 of Sarries? That was probably the better result for where we are in the table. But as you did allude to, teams are hot on our heels and climbing up the table. If we're not careful, we will soon be out of that top 4. So that's another must-win game.
And on that note, I've just remembered we had one more soundbite that we took from a very good friend of ours who happened to be a Gloucester fan on the way home last night on the train, and I think it would be an ideal way
to finish the pod. Soundbite from a brilliant friend of ours, who's obviously Lewis, the assistant manager down at the Beer Factory chat room where we record the pod.
And we're going to, for once, the first time ever, we're going to finish the pod with someone else speaking. So, have a good week, stay safe, up the Bears, and let's have a listen to this.
So I'm here with Lewis. We're on the train. We're almost back in Bristol. Lewis is obviously a Gloucester fan. Mate, what did you think of the game?
Pete, listen. You were out of your depth up in GL5. Listen, you come up GL5 from BS3, there's a big hell of a difference.
Well, there's a few letters of the alphabet.
Few letters of the alphabet, and two, couple of numbers difference. And it's a whole world. You're in,
social difference.
Yeah, social difference. Listen, you ain't seen that many. It's wax jackets versus dry robes, and wax jackets won today. Oh, you know that. I know that. Gloucester, Wadey. Yeah, he was wading through water.
Is that the guy wearing tights you're talking about?
Wadey with the red scrum cap. Wadey was wading through, and you lot were drowning in the 3 feet of water he was wading through. All right, you were. You know what I mean? I think at the start, just offloads. Yeah, you didn't know how to deal with it.
It was like an offload convention.
Yeah. Chips over the top. There were balls going in behind. No one was there. Who was there? No one was home. A brilliant young side from Gloucester as well. Incredible talent. I think, the fact that the man of the match is, Seb Atkinson, 20 years old, says it all really. Hat-trick, Wadey, hat-trick. I think they both got hat-tricks. Who knows?
They got a lot of tries.
There's a hell of a lot of tries, regardless. That's not the point, Pete. It's your birthday. That's what matters. How's your birthday been, mate?
Mate, it's been a great day.
Yeah?
It is, Wendy.
What, today?
Yeah.
Is it your birthday, Wendy says? We've just spent the entire day.
Yeah, it is my birthday. You know what? I mean, Bristol nearly shipped as many points as my age today, I've got to say. So we just leave it at that. All right, goodbye.
Yeah.